Hello, everybody. I am Goose, and you're watching On With the Show. And on today's podcast, we're going to talk about everybody's favorite troglodyte, Tucker Carlson. I saw this about a week or so ago, and I couldn't stop laughing. And the headline read, from what I read, was that Tucker Carlson apologizes because he feels he's responsible for Trump getting elected into office. And I laughed my ass off because, in all honesty, Tucker Carlson had nothing to do with Trump getting elected. But we're going to get into this. I'm going to turn on the OBS. I'm going to show you the headline from NBC News and show a couple of videos to kind of give you an idea of what and who Tucker Carlson really is. So give me a sec. Let me just switch over to the OBS and we'll get on with the show. Yes, and the NBC News headline reads, Tucker Carlson apologizes for misleading people on Trump. We're implicated in this for sure. The former Fox News host, once a prominent supporter of the president, has been vocally opposed to how the president has handled Iran. Okay, so this is written by Megan Leibowitz just a few days ago, on April 21st, so about a month ago. No, actually, just a couple weeks ago. Let me see if I get this. This is what happens when your computer decides to do things you don't want it to do. So, former Fox News host Tucker Carlson expressed regret over supporting President Donald Trump, saying in a video released Monday that he would be tormented by it for a long time and apologize for misleading people. I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences, Tucker said on the Tucker Carlson show, referring to the role of his and others supporting for Trump. We'll be tormented by for a long time. I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional. As it says, Carlson, once a staunch reporter of the president, pointed in a video to having campaigned for president, saying we're implicated in this for sure. And as a matter of fact, let's just go to the video because he says a lot of this in the video with his brother. So let's just play this. And again, I'm sorry for the audio of the echo, but this is the best I got.
Yeah, like really, again, it comes back to the obligation that he has, not just to Donald Trump, to everybody else in the country, well beyond Donald Trump. Who cares? He can survive.
So looking back, because, you and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. We're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like, in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people.
So let's pause for a minute. I'm going to go back.
But the question...
Let's go back for a little bit. Because one of the things you can tell about a liar is the amount of times they go to the nose.
It's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say sorry for people. It was not intentional. That's all I'll say. But anyway, the question does present itself immediately. Like, what is this? Was this always the plan? You don't want to be a conspiracy nut, but clearly there were signs of low character. We knew that.
Oh, he doesn't want to be a conspiracy nut. Isn't that what Tucker Carlson primarily is a conspiracy nut? He spewed more conspiracies and, than I think some people who've got the tinfoil hats.
But it didn't. There are tons of people of low character who outperform their character.
It doesn't have to be sort of the norm, actually, these days.
Right. I outperform my character a lot. I don't have especially high character, right? But you try to you try your best. But what was this? Was this always the plan?
Looking back after the last year and a half, it seems like it kind of was, and it's easy Well, you could get really deep about it and say, what was Butler? Like, how was it that and Ryan Ruth, I mean, he was subject to two legitimate assassination attempts.
Oh my gosh.
Have we ever gotten to the bottom? I know you've talked a lot about this, but have we ever gotten to the bottom of
I've
that?
talked a lot about it. I don't know the answer, but I know that those investigations have been stymied. Fact.
Yeah, stymied from the very top, from people who actually would have the power to get to the bottom of
And
it.
the motive.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much.
So now they're going back to the assassination attempts on Trump. I find it funny. Let's go back to the article really quick, because he probably talks about something really quick. Carlson's remarks come amid a growing public splinter with the right over Trump's handling of the war in Iran. I have certain opinions on it. I know other people have. I'm not going to get into those right now. I'll probably might get into them on the other side of this, but I can understand why people are upset with the war in Iran, because Trump ran on not starting any wars, and here he apparently started a war, which he actually really didn't start the war. Israel fired on Iran first, and we just came there for support. We're kind of like, Americans strongly disapprove of the president's handling of inflation and the cost of living, which consistently a top issue. Reached for comment, the White House pointed to an April 9th Truth Social post from Trump, who said that Carlson and other Trump allies turned critics have one thing in common: low IQs. They're stupid people. They know it, their families know it, and everyone else knows it too, Trump said in a lengthy post. After Carlson criticized Trump's handling in Iran earlier this month, Trump told the New York Post that he believed Carlson was a low IQ person who has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. I can kind of agree with that. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Carlson is the only high-profile former Trump supporter to break with the president in recent months. Right-wing conspiracy theorists Alec Jones and former Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene have called for the 25th Amendment to be invoked to oust Trump from office. Carrie Prejean Bowler, who served as a Trump-appointed member of the Religious Liberty Commission until February, called Trump an evil psychopath in an Instagram post, and far-right influencer Candace Owens called the Trump administration satanic. All right. So, yeah, this isn't getting overblown at all. They almost sound like, what's the term? Never Trumpers. Never Trumpers. Which is funny, because all these people supported him until he got into office, and then I guess apparently Trump didn't do what they thought he should do. He is the president, by the way. And whatever your opinions are on Trump, I'm not going to get into them. I'm not going to talk about him. He is the president. I have respect for anyone who is in the office. I've always had respect for whoever was in the office of the president of the United States. I always gave each president the benefit of the doubt of their leadership. Sometimes they surprised me, and sometimes they didn't surprise me. I'm not going to get into any names or anything else, but whatever you feel about Trump, that's your business. I'm not going to go into it. Let's get back to the article really quick. Influential podcasters in the so-called manosphere have also criticized Trump's handling of Iran. Joe Rogan said in March that some Trump supporters felt betrayed by the war, and Theo Von questioned whether the war was helping regular Americans. But even before the war, prominent podcasters have criticized Trump on issues such as immigration, the Epstein files, and U.S.-Israeli relations. Carlson was a strong supporter of the president, but he has become increasingly critical of Trump during his second term, particularly over his handling of Iran. He previously urged the president's military aides to reject any plan to kill Iranian civilians. I don't think there is any plan to kill Iranian civilians. There's only a plan to kill the Iranian military. That's a ridiculous thing to put out there. Reject any plans to kill Iranian civilians. I would tell you, no soldier goes in there with the idea they're going to kill civilians. Besides, I believe that's illegal under certain, war treaties or war. I don't know what they're exactly called, but you're not allowed to kill civilians. And he slammed Trump's post earlier this month that called on Iran to open the effing strait, you crazy bastards. Which is talking about the Strait of Hormuz. Carlson said that on every level, the post was vile. So, and I'm going to show you Carlson, and we're going to get into this really quick. Carlson left Fox in 2023, shortly after Fox agreed to pay $787.5 million settlement to Dominion Voting Systems over defamation allegations. Now, I'm going to go into the next video because it talks about how Tucker Carlson was fired, for lack of a better, because it wasn't really about Dominion. This is from the Wall Street Journal. This isn't from some crazy YouTube channel. This is the Wall Street Journal. And this is a little long, so please bear with me.
Offensive messages Tucker Carlson sent showing contempt for Fox News management and colleagues were a major factor in the company's decision to oust him Monday, according to people familiar with the matter. The move took Carlson off the air, a shock to the host and his large audience, making the previous Friday's show his last.
And we'll be back on Monday. In the meantime, have the best weekend with the ones that you love, and we'll see you then.
Yeah, he didn't even know he's been fired.
It's a big deal because Tucker Carlson was one of the most well-known TV personalities and the highest-rated primetime host.
Here's a look at the private messages that led to Carlson's surprise ouster and what's next for the former host and the network. Ahead of Fox's defamation trial against Dominion Voting Systems, people familiar with the matter say Fox News lawyers presented Carlson with what they thought was good news. They told him the court would redact from a legal filing the time he called a senior Fox News executive the C word. But Carlson wasn't impressed.
No. Did you hear that? He called a senior executive at Fox the C word. Let's keep going.
He told his colleagues he wanted the world to know what he said about the executive.
Internal messages, many of which were from Tucker.
So they were going to redact that message out, and Carlson said, "No, don't redact it. I want the world to know what I said about this person." Really?
For Carlson, 2 other colleagues were made public in the discovery process, and some of those ended up being redacted, but in them, Mr. Carlson made disparaging remarks about some of his colleagues and other people at the network.
The court filings also revealed an exchange where Carlson called for the firing of a Fox News reporter for fact-checking Donald Trump's false claims about the 2020 election. "Please get her fired," Carlson wrote. "It's measurably hurting the company." In another message, Carlson...
So he wanted someone fired for actually doing their job.
Is shown complaining about the network's news coverage, including its decision to call Arizona for Joe Biden on election night. According to one document, he wrote, "We devote our lives to building an audience, and they let Chris Wallace and Leland Vittert wreck it," and included an obscenity. In the messages, Carlson also made disparaging comments about on-air guests and former President Donald Trump. He wrote in a January 2021 text message that he was very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights, and that I hate him passionately.
So it's been in filings that he hates Trump passionately. This is before all this. So was Tucker Carlson really a Trump supporter, or was he playing the role as a Trump supporter? We see this here. Now we see what's going on now. And is Tucker really just playing a role, trying to keep himself relevant now that he's been fired? Let's keep going.
So the Dominion court documents are redacted. There was concern among Fox executives that if the redacted material were to become public, it would lead to further embarrassment for the network and the parent company. And on Monday, the network said it would part ways with the popular host.
Tucker found out about 10 minutes before it was announced by the company.
Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have mutually agreed to part ways.
Carlson declined to comment on his departure. Within Fox, people familiar with the matter said reservations had been mounting about risks Carlson presented for the network. landing blue-chip advertisers for his show was an issue.
Fox struggled with getting advertisers at 8 p.m. on Tucker's show, partially because of controversial remarks he made on a number of different topics.
His commentary had grown more extreme and expanded beyond a conservative viewpoint on politics.
Female athletes are losing NCAA championships to men dressing up as women in order to cheat their way to victory. Democrats hate the police because they don't control the police. Very simple. So what is equity? Well, tonight, finally, we know what it is. Equity, it turns out, is racism.
Carlson trafficked in what critics and even some higher-ups within Fox felt was thinly veiled racism, such as this recent show where he's talking about
remember this?
Tennessee lawmakers protesting for stricter gun control.
Justin Pearson wasn't white. That's probably how he got into Bowdoin in the first place. But he did a fantastic impression of it. What a nice young man. Has he considered the apprenticeship program at Citibank?
The former host is also a defendant in a separate lawsuit that was filed last month by Abby Grossberg.
And here's another. Listen to this.
I was hoping that it would be more professional, and what he was portraying on air was just a show. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
The Abby Grossberg lawsuit against Fox, and Tucker is also named as a defendant in that suit, describes a culture of misogyny and religious discrimination at the network.
Carlson had no comment on the lawsuit. Fox at the time said it hired independent outside counsel to investigate the concerns raised by Grossberg. Fox and News Corp, the parent company of the Wall Street Journal's publisher, share common ownership. Carlson, now off the air, has declined to comment on his future plans.
Some people have speculated that he might take on a career in politics. Some people have talked about...
Yeah, talk about a career in politics. I saw a couple of articles where could Tucker Carlson run for president in 2028? No one's going to vote for him. All right? Sorry, I would put it on
him launching his own media venture of some sort or joining another network. But he hasn't commented on what he's going to do next.
For Fox News, his ouster leaves a primetime hole. The network is currently relying on a rotation of hosts until it names a permanent anchor for the 8 p.m. slot.
Historically, when anchors have left Fox, the network has survived. There are a number of examples of really prominent people who have left the network and launched their own careers. Megyn Kelly, Bill O'Reilly, Glenn Beck. But Fox, nonetheless, has found talent to replace them.
All right, so I'm going to get out of the OBS here, and I'm going to talk about this on the other side because there's a lot to unpack with this, all right? And the only way I'm going to be able to unpack it after what we've read, what we've seen, is basically I'm going to just give you my opinion on this whole thing. So just hold on. I'm going to close out the OBS. And I'm going to get to this on the other side of this. All right. So what do I have to say about Tucker Carlson other than what he's already done to himself? I have always, whenever people have asked me about Tucker Carlson, I see the same thing about Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is a two-faced lying schmuck. At the times, because people were talking about Tucker Carlson, and I was like, well, who is this guy? And so I wouldn't watch this show. I would listen to it on the radio. I would listen to it on Sirius XM. And I remember the one, this actually happened. I couldn't find footage of it, but this actually, because I heard it. And one week, he called Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, at that time, a rhino, someone who could not be trusted. Why is he not? And basically it was all about why the video tapes, the video footage of January 6th had not been released yet. He was crying and whining. How come, what is Kevin McCarthy? Why is he slow walking? Is he a rhino? Is he pretending to be conservative? Is he just, and I'm like, and then the very next week, Kevin McCarthy releases the January 6th footage to Tucker Carlson, of all people, at Fox. And then he praises Kevin McCarthy for the brave thing that he did by releasing the January 6th footage, the unedited footage of all the video. And I'm like, you just called this guy a rhino a week ago. And to this day, Kevin McCarthy is still kind of, I don't want to say questioned. He's still questioned on why he would turn over the footage to Tucker Carlson. I think what happened is Tucker Carlson in that beforehand, when he was whining and crying about we don't have the January 6th footage. I think that was a message to send out to all of his neophyte followers to call Kevin McCarthy's office and to turn over the footage to Tucker Carlson. And when you get that many phone calls, because he was the highest rated show on Fox. In fact, I think at that time, he was also the highest rated news show of all of them at that time. Everybody was watching Tucker Carlson. And I think that one of the reasons why people were watching Tucker Carlson was because he was kind of like a sideshow. I remember back in the 80s and the 90s when everybody was talking about Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh and how, oh my gosh, these guys are changing the face of radio, and they're changing the face of talk radio. And I can't believe what they're doing. This is so disgusting. And I think Tucker Carlson took lessons from Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh on how to do that kind of a show, because we just saw footage of some of the stuff that he had on his show. And it's kind of disgusting. And yet people were watching him like he was like they were sitting at the feet of Jesus. I mean, it was absolutely disgusting to hear some of these people just bowing down to Tucker Carlson. And we can see that the dude just got too big for his britches. He got too big, believing that I have the number one show. Everybody should listen to me. No one should listen to that Hannity guy, because, he's only been on radio and TV for 3 decades. I'm Tucker Carlson. I have the highest ranked. By the way, Jesse Waters is doing a much better job in your time slot with your show. Or I should say, with his show. He's doing a much better job. He's more likable. He has guests on there that people are like, but even I have like, well, I'm wondering why he has this person on. And he's very polite. Even some of his jokes are kind of like, he's not really, you would think he's making fun of some people, but it's just, I think he's naturally curious of some of the guests he has on his show. I like Jesse Waters. I think he's a very smart dude. I think he's much better than Tucker Carlson ever was. And I think what basically has happened is that Tucker Carlson has become irrelevant. He doesn't have the audience he once had. He doesn't have the control he once had. To be named in a sexual harassment lawsuit. Yes, I said it. And to blow it off like it's nothing. To call, and it's reported, to call a top executive the C word, and him saying, no, I want that in there because I want everybody to know that I said that about this person, just tells you about the arrogance of Tucker Carlson. He's become irrelevant, and he's doing whatever he can to keep his relevancy. That's the reason why I think he's now come out and against Donald Trump, because, and he's done it in a way that is grandstanding. People putting out articles that, Tucker Carlson is apologizing because he believes that he was responsible for Trump getting elected president. Are you kidding me? You had very infinitesimal reasons for Donald Trump to be getting elected. And again, excuse me for a minute, I got a fly just flying all over my studio here in my face, so it's driving me crazy. I'm not a fan of Tucker Carlson. I have not been a fan of Tucker Carlson for a long time. I was actually overjoyed when he got fired. The only place he's been able to, and the funny part is, his brother interviewed him. His own brother. That's how low it's gotten to be. When your own when your irrelevancy has fallen off so much that your own brother is having you as a guest on. And it did say the Tucker Carlson show. So maybe he had his brother on and his brother was interviewing him. I mean, who knows what's going on? He no longer has the power or the relevancy that he once has. He's still trying to gain, excuse me, he's still trying to gain it and keep a hold on it, because that's what happens when people who have power, they get a big fat head and they become tyrants, the best way I could say it. Now, here's the thing I'm going to say about the whole January 6th thing, because I do believe Kevin McCarthy's hand was forced. I do, because they had been saying they were going to release the video. They release the videos. It's the same thing with the Epstein files. We're going to release the files. We're going to release the, and you come out with it. A lot of it's been redacted. You know, you can't tell who and then we want the unredacted. Well, if you want the unredacted, you're going to see names in there that we're trying to, honestly, they're trying to protect certain names, certain images. When in reality, all it is a fishing expedition to try and get Trump tied to Jeffrey Epstein. And even if, we see pictures of Trump and Epstein together, that doesn't mean anything. People, I'm sure people came up to Trump all the time wanting a picture taken. I mean, I'm sure Trump was at an event and Epstein was at an event and they were just happened to be standing there. They had their picture taken. Okay. Doesn't mean they actually knew each other. Doesn't actually mean that they, but people have been trying to tie Epstein to Trump. And the funny thing is they're actually tying other people to Epstein in funny, crazy ways. And I know people who have gone down that rabbit hole, the Epstein files. I'm not one of them. I knew the moment if I dared, because with the way my brain works, I knew if I went down that rabbit hole, I would be down there for hours. I've seen close people and friends of mine. You wouldn't believe what the Epstein files say. No, I don't want to hear it. Did you hear about the cannibalism? I don't care. Why don't you care? Because then I'll be down there in the mud with you. And I don't want to be down there. But going back to January 6th, because I do believe Kevin McCarthy was harassed in releasing the videos for January 6th. And I think he was almost in a way forced to give them to Tucker Carlson, because I got to shut these people up. It would have been better if he just released them to everybody. Release them to Fox and CNN and MSNBC and be like, hey, here's the unedited video we have of January 6th. And I think January 6th is one of those things it's never going to get resolved, because I think that there's so much there that's not been talked about, not been discussed. I think we're going to, years from now, we're going to find out that it was a planned thing to try to set up, the Republicans. And I know I'm going into, deep conspiracy theory here about January 6th. That's one of the reasons why. And then they have this stupid January 6th committee that had people on there that all hated Trump. That was basically it. And again, it was just a way to try to get Trump tied to January 6th. That's all it was. Now we don't really hear a lot about January 6th. We really don't. I'm sorry if I brought it up and oh yeah, I forgot about January 6th, because it's become something where it's like it's so far back behind us. It's kind of like, by the time we figure out what really happened, it'd be, I don't know, all the people tied to it will all be gone. But the gall of Tucker Carlson to sit there and say, I'm sorry, I helped get Trump elected. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And for all of these other people And Candace Owens are like calling the Trump administration satanic. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. You know, I saw footage and I couldn't find it of Tucker Carlson was on this other podcast and he was heavily questioned about things. And Megyn Kelly is sitting there like defending, oh, he was so brave. He really held it together. And I'm like, no, he was exposed for being a liar because the woman brought receipts of when I never said that. And then she'd show when he said it, you know. I would be very surprised if you had footage of that. And then she'd show the footage. And, you know, and that's the thing. Tucker, I don't know if he purposely does it where it's like he has a short-term memory, you know, where it's like, I never said that. Oh, I would be surprised if you had anything. And then you show it, he's like, oh. So, my opinion on Tucker Carlson is don't believe a word he says. Just don't believe him. He's irrelevant now. Tucker Carlson is irrelevant. He's grasping at straws, trying to keep his name out there. And it's kind of like Pennywise. The more you ignore him, the smaller he gets. Anyway, I've said enough on this topic today. Thank you so much for watching the show today. If you haven't already, go down and subscribe to the channel. Bang that bell for notifications. Bang, bang, bang the bell for notifications so always know when new videos and new podcasts are uploaded onto YouTube. Give me a big like on the video. Let me know that you liked it. And it does help me with the algorithm to get this podcast out to other people. Share this out to your friends, family, neighbors. Let them know what I'm talking about here at On With The Show. And do me a favor, leave me a comment. Tell me what you think about this topic. Do you think Tucker Carlson is really sorry that he helped Trump get elected? Or do you just think that he's just fishing to get himself a new gig? I'd like to know. I really would. But with all of that being said, thank you so much. I am Goose. You're watching On With The Show. I will catch you all on the other side.